April 24th, 2013. A deadly industrial disaster struck Bangladesh as Rana Plaza collapsed. Although the devastation which occurred due to this tragedy was indescribable, with over 1,000 people being crushed to death, the attention that it drew to the unsafe and unofficial working conditions of factory workers marked the start of a change, a revolution.
Okay, Thrifty Store is a kind of little play on American thrift stores, which basically are second-hand clothes shops in their essence. But the difference between a vintage shop and a thrift store is that you kind of just put it all out there, and you kind of don't, I suppose, you don't kind of dictate or kind of make it high street, if that makes sense. So your fast fashion kind of joints, which a lot of vintage shops have kind of tried to emulate by becoming high street fashion outlets rather than being what I used to shop in, which was second-hand shops. Well, what is it? It's another part of the consumer society where it's just literally throwaway fashion. So you buy it, it's cheap. Primark are a good example. You know, all the rest of them, Top Man, you know, all those kind of guys that just recreate and essentially just try and reduce the bottom line by getting cheap clothes and then passing that saving on to customers so that people don't actually value. I suppose the making it goes into products and actually the value of reworking it and reusing it. You know, I mean, as a country, I think we still to this day, we throw away, I think it's about 80% of our clothes that ends up in landfill sites. So only 20% kind of is recycled. So it's, you know, that impact on the environment is pretty horrific. I just think I prefer to be individual. A lot of people do, but I think, yeah, you know, the fact that now it's a big topic, right? It's kind of, I suppose, you know, I used to work for a big corporate company, but I'm not going to say who. But you know, and you end up doing something that you don't particularly enjoy, but get paid good money for. But then you kind of, well, I had kids, and it was kind of like, if my kid asked me, you know, what do you do, Dad? And I'd be like, I wouldn't want to tell her. You know what I mean? Because I'd be embarrassed by it, because actually I'm not doing anything constructive. And I think we're living in a time where I think, you know, you need to be constructive with what you do and think about the ramifications for the future generations. And I think, so it gave me an opportunity when I got made redundant to kind of do this. And I think it was something that I've always been passionate about. Like I said, you know, I came from a working class background, and I'm not getting the violins out, but you know, we couldn't afford like labels and stuff like that. So, you know, the 80s was massive on labels when, you know, Lacoste, Sergio Tacchini, all that kind of jazz. And then, so I used to shop in charity shops, but I used to buy stuff that looked cool and used to do it that way. So I'd buy stuff for about £2, and, you know, and that was what I was about. And that's how I kind of overcame the fact that we didn't have much money. But I think, you know, going forward is like the kind of vintage shops of today have become a lot about, because it's now become cool and people call, I hate that word, upcycle. You know, it's like, because it's, you know, it's like for the upper classes, and it's like, no, it's just second-hand clothing, which is essentially what we do.
So I have two vintage businesses, Mooch Vintage and Pre-Loved Kilo. We buy and source stock from all over the world, and then at our company we have a zero waste policy, which means anything that we buy is brought back to the UK, and if anything's identified with having any flaws or damage in any way, or we've had it for a while and can't sell it, all this will be distributed off to homeless charities or animal charities. But we also work with colleges and young groups where we provide material for upcycling and recycling, which is giving us a zero waste policy within our business.